All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.258. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines featuring Premier League luxury tax, Turkish drama, more Turkish drama, and Spain's former federation president doing bad things again. Weekly what if, USL versus MLS. Premier League, we will talk a little bit about United, Liverpool, also give Luton some flowers, and then weekend preview featuring Newcastle, Spurs, and Arsenal Villa, among other highlights. Around the world, U.S. women's national team update and Champions League primer. We got a big week, big couple weeks actually, of Champions League coming up, so get excited for that. And of course, stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now it's time to welcome in this week's panel of Tweedlerific beauties, starting with Tommy McGunner, repping Notre Dame and freshly off a flight, I believe, from Birmingham, back in the DC area. So your question, walk us through that beautiful dime that you had this weekend against the Legion.
There's nothing to say about that. Great finish. Everyone should watch the goal just for the finish. It was a nice little dribble. But yeah, it was basically like a negative pass. So I'm taking zero credit for that, but I'm also taking a ton of credit because I've hit some dimes in the past that have gone unfinished. So there's some poetic justice.
There you go. You got to take it where you can get it. And
Yep.
listen, you knew your personnel. I had a high school basketball coach who always would use the term "know your personnel." You usually use it when you throw it to somebody who he knew was going to drop it and like give it away. But you knew it in the other way. You knew your personnel and you gave it to the right guy and went and scored. So it works. All right, Mitchell Goulet, aka Overtime Mitch, is back with us again this week. So Tyler turned the tables on me a few weeks ago and hit me with a question that like I'm still sort of thinking about every now and again. So I'm going to throw it at you. What is your biggest fear in life?
Oh God, I don't like sharks. But I don't think that's all that like irrational. Like I think those are perfectly evolved apex predators that are like I don't know why people aren't more scared of the ocean. So that's like my biggest practical fear. My biggest my biggest fear in life, I don't know. I'd probably say being alone. I like my alone time, but I don't like feeling alone. You know what I mean? And if that were to be my existence forever, I think that would be a scary existence. So I'm going to say sharks and loneliness.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. I took it to such a deep, dark place, like immediately off the bat. I was like,
He's asking your biggest fear. I mean, it's going to have a heavy answer to it, no?
true. That's true. But listen, I could have answered it more poetically, more sort of diplomatically, the way you did. So I'm still thinking about it and double.
Years of media training, that's all.
It shows. It shows. And my lack comes through crystal clear. All right. We will head to headlines. So, big talk this week in Premier League circles that the league, and this is, on the back of, there's been so much talk of these points deductions. And yet again, we got just another one. Just today, Everton got hit with another 2-point deduction. So, and at this point, everybody's kind of like, this is silly. This is ridiculous. We're sort of deciding who's going to stay up in the Premier League and who's going to go down based on, the courts and sort of arbitrary decisions by some sort of committee. It's ridiculous. So what they're talking about, allegedly anyway, is replacing the points deductions as a penalty for overspending on players. They're going to go towards an NBA type model where they have a luxury tax, and the clubs that spend too much, get penalized with monetary fines. So, Mitch, you're an NBA expert. What are your thoughts on this idea?
I think it's really convenient timing to roll out a suggestion like this, don't we? And then on the back of that announcement to award Everton another 2-point deduction just feels like a slap in the face to a team that has had plenty of those already this season. It feels like a step in the right direction in terms of like policing the league and making financial fair play easier to punish because they now realize that teams have kind of run amok financially for years, and they don't really have any practical repercussions for them. So now they're looking to kind of implement a new system, so they have kind of more jurisdiction to do that. That's the official answer, but it's really to keep City in the league. Is it not? Like,
Right. It's like one of those things where initially I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's kind of
yep.
understandable and everything. And then you're like, so we're just, the only punishment is going to be money. And you got two clubs now with basically, untold amounts of money that are willing to spend whatever they feel like. That's not going to be a deterrent in any way, shape, or form. So yeah,
It's cost of doing business at some point for some teams that are just going to look at that, and it now, instead of giving them uncertain repercussions, it now kind of spells out in black and white, hey, here's what you can do, here's what you cannot do. And if you do what you cannot do, here are the penalties for it. That's just going to be factored into the cost of doing business for a lot of teams, or with teams with unlimited pockets, like a handful of them.
Right. It's just that's going to be what's going to cost. This is how much money you're going to have to spend. Tommy, you're smart. You know things. What are your thoughts on the luxury tax?
You guys nailed it. Prem has too much money to spend. So you might as well sanction people that way. No, I don't think the league has a good answer for what to do with this. So then they're just like throwing reasonable stuff against the wall instead of shit against the wall to see what sticks. But yeah, it'd be nice to see someone sanctioned that wears light blue.
Right. That's not Everton or Nottingham Forest. Yeah, the timing of this is
it's just like,
really,
it's like picking on the bottom feeders.
right.
Like,
I mean, the fact that like we've had this City thing hanging out for however many years now, and you've already gone and punished Everton twice and Nottingham Forest once, and then you're gonna sort of, now we're talking about maybe changing the rules before City actually gets punished. I mean, if they're going to do something, I'm okay with it, because like the situation, the system right now is just ridiculous. But if they do it before punishing City, that is just beyond the pale. And I think that would be just too far for most fans, and there would be some sort of uprising.
I think that's exactly what they'll do.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, because you can't. Their violations aren't grandfathered in. They're the judge, the jury, and the executioner for this whole thing. They can say, nope, we're going to award City a monetary fee instead of a point deduction. Because how do you quantify in points what City have done? Both Everton and Forest have singular or a handful of allegation or violations that can now be quantified into 6 points, 2 points, and however many points Forest got. You can't do that for 115 violations for City, because it's going to be like 1,000 points. So I think that's exactly what they'll do, is they will change up this format right before handing down sanctions on City. And I still want to take issue with the fact that they're handing down point deductions in the middle of the season, not even in the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, when teams are fighting against relegation, and you're just like, whoop, take another 2 from you. Hey, like, right. That's Bullshit. I'd be pissed.
Every time Everton seems like they're inching away from relegation, they just get put back a couple points. It's ridiculous. So I guess that's our say on this situation. We shall see. I'm not quite as pessimistic or cynical as you, Mitch, but I'm getting there. Yeah. All right. Turkish drama. The Turkish Super League is just, it's bananas, and I absolutely love it. So the latest shoe to drop was Fenerbahce, and of course Fenerbahce has sort of been at the forefront of this for a few months now, if not longer. But they've had a long-term issues with the federation. The big recent blow up was when a whole bunch of Trabzonspor fans came out of the stands and attacked their players. And so that was sort of the backdrop of this. But the federation scheduled the Super Cup, the Turkish Super Cup, for this week. I believe it was last night, right? It was on Sunday. And so this was rescheduled from December, by the way. This is sort of an aside. It was supposed to be played in Saudi Arabia in December, but that game got postponed because the Saudi Arabian authorities wouldn't let them the players and also the fans, unfurl banners and wear T-shirts of Ataturk, the sort of the father of Turkey. So it got postponed till an unknown date. Turkish Federation scheduled it for Sunday, and Fenerbahce didn't like that at all because they play Europa Conference League quarterfinal this week. So they basically protested the entire situation by sending their U19s to the Super Cup. And the U19s went out there against their arch rival Galatasaray. Maro Icardi, Mr. Wanda Nara, scored 48 seconds into the game, and the U19s just walked off the field. Said, you know what, that's it. We're calling it. So just an absolute banana situation. I don't know. It's like another week in Turkish soccer, which is, fantastic. I love it. Well, Mitch, what do you think here?
My initial thought on Turkish football as a whole is that they are very clearly people of action, which I really, really respect. That they protested the game being played in Saudi because they didn't want, or the Saudi government didn't want those banners and shirts. The entire club had like collective action to say, nope, fuck you to the federation. We're going to send our U19s and make a statement. Like, I don't think Europe's top 5 leagues clubs have kind of the gall to go ahead and do something like that. Maybe it's just Turkish football being Turkish football. I don't know, but I really respect how they're willing to make these big public statements and stunts through collective action to get their message across, whether it be, a little too sensitive or just, passionate, who knows, but good on them, I guess. I don't know. Sending the U19s there as like pawns, it was kind of a weird move though. No?
Little bit. I mean,
and also
feel for the
you
kids.
have to wonder, was it premeditated that, hey guys, once we got scored on, we're going to walk off the field? Or was it like,
that's the part I don't understand. If you're gonna do that, just take them off the field. If you wait for them to score, then it feels like kind of sour grapes. Like, it seems like they were kind of hedging. And if the U19s, were in the game,
imagine if they pulled something off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you give up a goal 48 seconds, and then you just sort of like, fuck this. We're out of here. I don't know. It's a wild situation. Tommy,
if I'm playing FIFA and a guy scores on me in the first 3 minutes and he's obviously just a better player of the game than I am, I'll quit. I got no shame in that.
Do you think it was planned though?
That's what we're saying.
I think it was. I think
that they were going to have him maybe walk off at some point.
Right.
I don't think they're going to have him walk off like immediately, because why would you even have him start the game then?
Right.
Just walk off as soon as they blow the whistle.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's more powerful, I think, in some ways. Just go like play 1 minute and then fuck this.
True, but the fact they got scored on kind of makes it, it hurts the.
And the best part was that Galatasaray's just had a friendly for the fans after.
So they knew this was happening. They had the reserve team there to play like this. They all knew what was happening here. Icardi gave them like a single honor guard, single person honor guard, and then they had the reserves there. So Galatasaray played their reserves. So the fans who were there, not a ton of fans I saw, but the fans that were there and paid money to go to the game, they actually had a game to watch. So it was like it's a very strange situation all around.
I have this question. So the message was meant to be sent to the Federation. It was a fuck you to the Federation, not Galatasaray.
Well, they hate Galatasaray.
Sure, but if you, call it Arsenal and Tottenham are in the same exact position, and you are Fenerbahce in this scenario, would you send out your U19s to then get scored on and then concede the entire game, therefore giving Arsenal the title to send the message? Or would you do it before getting scored on so as to end the game 0-0 and not win by default?
It would have had more sort of, effect if you just they blow the whistle and you'd be like, nope, we're out of here, and walk off the field. Right. The fact they waited for them to get scored on, that makes me think that they were actually going to at least play some of the game and sort of see how it goes. Maybe we can beat our arch rival with our U19s, which would be the ultimate fuck you. But then when you get scored on 48 seconds into the game, it kind of like, okay, well, we're not going to win this. Fuck it.
Fair.
Oh, Turkish soccer, I love you so much. But we'll move on. Lastly, and kind of leastly, Luis Rubiales Everybody remember him, the disgraced former president of Spain's soccer federation. So the latest shoe to drop with him is he was arrested, at least briefly. He was brought back from the Dominican Republic. I don't think he was actually told he had to be back, but like he knew he was going to be detained or whatever. So he came back from the Dominican Republic, and prosecutors are apparently looking deep into his financial records. Essentially, it sounds like there's maybe some shady stuff going on between him and some other guys at the federation. I read somewhere that it may actually involve Gerard Piqué, strangely enough. So yeah, we'll see how this all goes. You know, Luis Rubiales, as I said, he's been disgraced at this point. They're still actually going after him for some sort of like sexual coercion type thing. I don't know how that's going to go. He's in deep shit. And the fact that his sort of demeanor and his reaction to the whole situation being like, you know, I'm not in the wrong. I'm not even going to say sorry. Pressuring other people within the federation to talk to the female soccer players and tell her to say this wasn't a big deal when he kissed her and all that stuff. It was ugly, and whatever he gets, he's got coming. That's my thoughts on that one. And lastly, this one I'm not even going to go into because I just saw some tweets about it and I wasn't able to verify. I haven't really seen anything come from it, but there were whispers on the Twitter machine that players from Miami United bet on themselves, or tried to anyway, to put a big, huge bet on Miami United, on their own team, in the US Open Cup against Club de Leon. And I don't know if the bets went through. I know that there was a very large bet allegedly that was denied. And then Miami United went on to win. So they actually would have collected on that. I don't know the situation. That might not even be true at all. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that because I don't know what's going on with that situation. Just an interesting nugget though, from the interwebs that may be worth following and maybe a total nothing burger. But we'll move on. Weekly what if time. Okay, so put our hypothetical thinking hats on here. If you were named the all-powerful commissioner of USL tomorrow, what changes would you implement to help compete with MLS? And I bring this up because I was just watching TV this weekend and there was a USL game on CBS. It was Louisville versus, I can't remember who they were playing, but it was like a USL game on TV. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then you think, okay, and you know what? There's 0 MLS games on this weekend because they're all on Apple TV. And I have got a whole different spiel that maybe we'll get into at some point. I'm becoming increasingly negative on that whole situation. But anyway, back to USL here. Tommy, I'm going to go to you first. Just randomly, just picking you randomly. So if you're going to make changes to help USL compete with MLS, what would they be?
I think this weekend was a very good example of what the product of USL could be like more often on television. Granted, I think more stadiums need to look like Louisville's in the league for this to be a product capable and worthy of standard cable television. But yeah, man, 8 goals in one game, and it was actually really fun to watch. I thought the production was pretty good, so I enjoyed that. And then 2 other things. One, every night should be dollar beer night for fans because I think that is
Love it.
Yeah.
that is a way to get more fans into the stadium. And I think fans would love that. I think that's sometimes, the American version of like, that's the beauty of minor league sports kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is events like that. And then the last one would be like, I think there's some really unique people in USL clubs, whether players, front office people, coaches, and there's a lot of young coaches. And I think that goes with the kind of cable television, but like content that highlights the stories and the people that are actually involved in the clubs, whether it's some local person that's been, a part of that team from, ball boy all the way up to director of ops or like something random like that. Those are cool stories. And I think a lot of fans would appreciate that if there was more content about that.
I think that's a good point. That was something that I always had in mind when I was sort of doing interviews. I've fallen off the interview train lately because, you know, having kids and shit has gotten me all sorts of out of my element. But hopefully I'm going to get back on that train, because I think you're right. There's so many stories, interesting stories to be told there. So Mitch, anything to add or tweaks, or you know what, you want to refute anything like dollar beer? You think that's a horrible idea?
That's incredibly un-American. I'm going to co-sign Dollar Beer Night. Tommy McCabe's a man of the people. Yeah, get some butts in seats and put some beers in mouths. That's I'm going to endorse that. I I would love to see, and this is when you asked me this question, I kind of thought super high level, massive changes, not like little tweaks like that. So I would think that implementing a structure similar to how college football is run, and that competitions are matched up, where you have conferences that are fairly regionalized, maybe not like northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest kind of thing, but fairly regionalized conferences where you play to, I don't know, 8 teams, and then the winner of all of those 8 conferences go to a more like formal and exciting playoff where maybe there's 2 legs, and then maybe you see promotion relegation too. I'm not entirely sure, but I'd like to take elements of college football, because I feel like college football teams have really fierce fandoms, dedicated and local. And I think that's something that you have to capitalize on if you're going to make a nationwide league successful. Um, and rivalries are a huge thing in college football, and not necessarily in USL, because why are people in Louisville supposed to care about, folks in San Diego? Like, there's not a real element of rivalry. There are, but not every week. Um, and then I take elements of lower league English teams too, with ticket pricing, with dollar beer nights, with just localization of the clubs. Maybe get some of the local colleges integrated. I don't know how that would work. That's not well thought out, but you know what I'm saying. Trying to kind of shrink the universe of some of these clubs and have the fan bases really like super, super passionate about it. I know it's a lot easier said than done too, but
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, there's an access thing. Just get as many people, and this goes back to like it being on TV, it being USL.
Mhm.
USL is on TV, MLS is not. That is going to be, something that might help USL get some real traction here. I
Can
don't
we
know. We'll
can we
see.
also highlight the fact that that game, which was on standard CBS, was chosen, I don't know the contracts and everything, but basically chosen over the Final Four.
That's interesting. I
Like
hadn't even thought
the
about that.
Final Four was on TBS, not CBS. And I'm pretty sure CBS owns all of those channels.
I don't think CBS has the. Hmm, was it
Because it's,
flexed?
I don't know, it definitely was not flexed. I'm just saying it's
Okay.
an interesting choice that,
Yeah.
CBS is the king of college football with the SEC. And then they do a lot. They've done every weekend of March Madness, but the Final
Yep.
Four is on TBS, and
That's
I'm sure
interesting. Yeah.
tonight's. I want to check what tonight's on, but that's whoever. I don't think they're related. I'm pretty sure there's a contract with
Mm.
the Final Four and TBS, but still an interesting. Yeah, the finals on TBS too.
Yep.
Interesting.
So maybe it's some like reverse version of CBS going, okay, we want to grow the sport of soccer, so we're going to put the USL on that, but they're also saying we want more people to buy our other channels. So we're putting the Final Four on TBS. And that is the real reason why
Yeah.
USL was on
It
CBS that
sounds
day.
to me like a situation where USL just benefited from just the
Yes.
dynamics
Yeah.
of how the TBS worked out, but it,
Yeah.
it
For
worked.
like that's a big weekend for CBS's total network, and USL was part of that,
Yeah,
which
it's
I think
awesome.
is pretty
And
cool.
it was a great game. So Louisville beat Indy 11 5-3. It was a fun game. And I was like, wow, if people are watching this and they can't see MLS, I mean that's not nothing when it comes to the whole MLS versus USL thing. Okay, we'll move on to Premier League. So biggest game of the weekend was undoubtedly United hosting Liverpool. So I won't give you the normal question of which game was most interesting, because that by far at least drew the most eyeballs and everybody was talking about it. Ended up being a pretty fun game for neutrals anyway. I know Tyler was not loving it very much, but 2-2 was the final score. United in the first half was just, they were played off the field. It didn't look like they even showed up in the first half. They had like, I don't know, 30 something percent possession. They had 0 shots. It was like, United wasn't even there. Then the second half was quite a bit different. The United goal, of course, the Kwanzaa was made a terrible pass, and Bruno first timed it over Kelleher, who was kind of out of his goal from half field, and that sort of set the game in motion. It felt like the game was just this real sort of, Liverpool was just, I don't know, sucking the life out of it and handling things. But that play right there, which people I've seen, and of course people always exaggerate a little bit, but they're talking about how that could be like the new age Gerrard slip if Liverpool go on to not win this. We can discuss that in a little bit, but I don't know, Mitch, what are your, or Tommy, either one of you guys both sort of neutral parties on this one. What are your thoughts on that game?
We were not neutral.
I really gotta work with my third party versus unbiased versus neutral verbiage here, because I'm screwing it up every week. But go on.
Yeah, we had some ulterior motives for this one. I thought United played that game well. I don't know how United fans support this team and watch this team week in and week out. That's beyond stressful. But I thought they had a handful of chances in the first half. They had like Garnacho's goal that was called back for being offside. He was, but it was still like a viable break. And they had another opportunity as well. I don't think Liverpool. I think Liverpool played a little timid. I don't think they went for it. I really think they tried to like carefully win this game and pick United apart. And that's not how United want to play. And United played chaos ball like they do every week and got the result from it. I also don't think that was a penalty. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, there were two things I was going to bring up.
Being booked for simulation because he's done it before, but I do not think that's a penalty. There's contact, but it's not a penalty.
I lean towards it being a penalty, if only because Wan-Bissaka, if you make that challenge in the box and you go down, you make a slide tackle and you get no ball and you do get some contact, that's just it's just a big enough mistake.
Some contact is way overselling what he did.
A little bit.
He went down, he went to ground, but he did not get into, to use like an NBA term, he didn't get into Garnacho's airspace. He did not like attempt to slide through him. He attempted to slide to block the ball. Garnacho purposefully averted his path and moved his foot so that he could make contact with him. I don't think Wan-Bissaka endangered him. I don't think he made contact. I think there was contact, but I don't think it was initiated by Wan-Bissaka. If that is in the open field, I don't think that's a foul call.
Now, you said Garnacho, you meant Harvey Elliott, obviously.
Yes, yeah, Harvey Elliott. Thank you.
You're right. It was his trail leg, I think, that actually made the contact. Yep. And so I was one of those situations where I was okay with it being a penalty because Wan-Bissaka, in my mind, made a bad enough play defensively that it was
desperate and reckless, sure,
in a bad spot. But yeah, if you're just looking at the straight up contact and whether it was a foul, it was pretty dicey. Pretty dicey.
What else are we supposed to look at to determine a penalty?
Well, the mistake element for me, the fact that Wan-Bissaka, if you challenge somebody like that in the box and you don't get any ball, I mean, you're just asking for it. But yeah, it wasn't really a foul. So I'm basically taking both sides here and talking on both sides of my mouth.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of sliding to block a shot from 5 yards away as well. Then that's going to ground without.
Yeah, but in my mind, going to ground to block a shot is different than going to ground to attempt to tackle and going in on somebody. And
sure, but neither make contact. I don't know. I'm upset with that call.
Tommy, what are your thoughts on this game? The other, by the way, the other sort of talking point that we have to bring up that I'll bring up if you don't is Kobe Mainu. Man, that guy's good. Anyway, Tommy, what
He's
were yours?
baller.
What was your thoughts from the game?
So this is all I'm going to say on this game. So March 5th, 2023, Liverpool plays United 7-0. Expected goals is 2.78 to 0.82 in favor of Liverpool. December 17th, 2023, 0-0. Expected goals 2.38 to 0.75 in favor of Liverpool. April 7th, 2-2. Expected goals is 3.59 to 0.71 in favor of Liverpool.
That's crazy. I mean, they're consistent.
Last three games they've played against each other, which is crazy.
I'm going to assume Darwin started all three of those.
That's a good guess.
Darwin, that miss that he had. Oh my God. It was so bad that I think the commentators didn't even think he was trying to shoot. He was definitely trying to shoot that.
Oh yeah.
It was so bad that the commentators like, wow, that was a bad cross. Why would he not shoot the ball? Like, no, bro. He was trying to put that one in the goal. Oh, that donkey. I fucking love that guy.
And then I know I mentioned it, but I might be backtracking on what I said in the text message. What finish is better, De Bruyne's or Mainu's?
I think Manu's is.
For me, the play, I'm going with Mainu. I mean, when he caught the ball, he had to turn. He had like 3 defenders between him and the goal. He didn't even really have a sight of goal. And to put that sort of wide, far side around the guys, what a fucking hit. That guy is good. And how old is he? Like
18.
19, 18? Oh, man.
He's quality.
And you can just see him when he's out on the pitch. He's just like, he wants the ball. If you just watch him, he's like, give me the ball in the situations like that where it's like, I mean, yeah, you're kind of open, but like it's not like you are in a dangerous position. He just wants the ball in the final third. And man, that's something that not everybody feels that. Not everybody acts that way. And for him to be an 18-year-old kid doing that in that situation, I'm a fan of him as a player. I rate him, as the kids say. Yeah. So what else happened this weekend? Arsenal dominated pretty much Brighton 3-0, and City actually had a little bit of trouble. Mikey said that they might drop some points at Palace. Palace went up 1-0, and I texted him. This is at like 6:45 in the morning. We're like, oh, Mikey. And then, of course, Man City just ran them over in the second half. Ended up being a 4-2 game. Is this the drop points by Liverpool? Now I'm definitely asking a question that you guys are very much biased on. Is that a telling sign for Liverpool's title shot here?
I'm not going to call it telling, but I'm going to call it a step in the right direction for us. There's 7 games left. I'm not going to say anything definitive, but I like the fact that we're in the driver's seat at this stage. I think we're hitting our stride at the right time. I'm not going to speak on another team. I think they have their own issues to deal with, but I like the position we're in.
Now we're not going to speak on another team. All right.
I don't make a habit of that ever.
I mean, you guys are at the top of the table. It's only goal difference. It's not just only goal difference. You're actually up 9 goals in goal difference on Liverpool, which is not nothing. And then, of course, Man City is 1 point behind you guys. Oh, I mean, this title race is going to be awesome. God damn it. I'm that game, the 3-0 win when you go away to Brighton. And I asked you last week, I think it was, I was like, are you not nervous about this? And you were actually pretty clear. You're like, nah, I feel good about this game. I guess, yeah, you should have. And Arsenal, I've said this before, you guys, again, you kind of look like a fucking title contender the way you guys are putting away these wins. I will say Champions League and Europe is going to have a big telling impact on how the title race goes from here.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Any other games from the weekend? So we mentioned the Arsenal Brighton game and City Palace. Any other games? There was we got to talk about the Luton Bournemouth game, or at least Luton, but there was also Sheffield United came back on Chelsea, and Aston Villa and Brentford 3-3. Any of those games, or should we just do a quick thing on Luton?
I want to point out one Chelsea stat that they have scored twice and conceded twice in 7 straight games. That's outstanding. If that's not a passenger on your overtrain, I don't know what is.
There's a lot of teams in the Premier League that are just stalwarts on the overtrain. Tottenham are right there. Liverpool is probably one of them. Newcastle was. We'll get into that actually in the best bet segment. Chelsea is absolutely there. There's Aston Villa. There's so many teams in the Premier League this season. I'm just like locked and loaded every single week. Now, Luton, we got to talk about Luton. This is the team that didn't spend, jack squat this summer, and everybody's like, you know what, this team is, historically bad. They don't even have a Premier League stadium. Like, this is going to be kind of ridiculous. And here they are. Granted, this is with point deductions, playing a big role here, but they're even on points, so that, yes, they're still in the relegation zone, but they're on in 18th. They're even with Forest on 25 points, Forest being 17th, and Everton is in 16th. Again, they've had 2-point deductions. They're only 2 points ahead of Luton. And then you got Brentford and Palace, and they're not that far away. So the way Luton plays and the way they've been sort of getting results here and there, I'm starting to come around and like actually proactively rooting for them. They're just a fun team to watch. Their manager is pretty attractive, and I'm on board with the Luton Town here. You guys, any thoughts on that, or whether they actually have a chance to somehow avoid relegation? And with the points deductions, is it almost like they should go down just because of the ridiculousness of how that's working out?
I would love to see them stay up. I'm a big fan of them too. I think I was fully convinced, the novelty of their stadium at first, everyone's intrigued, but when they played Arsenal and City back to back and they were really close games at home, that's when I was like, okay, I'd like to see these guys stay up. And obviously the manager goes a long way into that.
How hot he is, I agree.
Yeah.
By the end of the week, I'd like a 1 to 20 list of hottest to least hot Premier League managers.
Okay,
please.
but would you rather see another year of Nuno Espirito Santo with Forest, or another year?
No, first
he's
of all,
not hot at all. I know
he's not hot, and he's also a terrorist. He's the new Tommy Tuchel here. The way he's like, terrorizing Gio Reyna, not even putting him on the goddamn field. He's next in line. He's next up for my terrorist list.
What did he bring on Reyna at like the 81st minute when they were down 3-1 on the weekend? Why even play him at that point?
He clearly doesn't rate him. We just saw Reyna play for the U.S. team. There's no way that Forrest couldn't use a guy like that in their team.
Nuno mentioned him in a press conference. He was like, "Oh yeah, we've seen what Gio done with the national team side. We're happy to have him back." And then just proceeded to give him garbage minutes, 9 of them. Come on. I want to echo the Luton fandom though. I've been a soft Luton supporter for most of this season just because of the way they play. They're a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
They're easy to root for. Like Tommy said, I really like the novelty of their stadium, and it was cool at first, but now it feels like the whole club has some momentum behind it. And I'd really like to see them stay up. I was just taking a look at Forest's schedule for the rest of the season and Luton's schedule for the rest of the season. I think Forest has an easier schedule, which sucks. But I like Luton as a side better, so I don't know. I don't think Luton take points off City. I think they have a chance against Brentford. I think they have a chance against Wolves and Everton. I think West Ham beat them, and I think Fulham beat them. So there's, a handful of games out of their remaining 7 that they can grab points from, or 6, excuse me, that they can grab points from. And then Forest, yeah, I don't know. They don't inspire a lot of confidence right now. I like Luton to stay up.
They certainly don't. What the conflict in my mind, or maybe in my heart, is that if it's really going to be points deductions that end up sort of sinking either Forest or Everton, like that just doesn't really sit right with me. So I don't know, but I don't know who I would, and somebody's got to, go down if it's not Luton. So who would it be? Palace, Brentford, they seem like, I don't know. They just seem like they're just slightly better, and they don't really belong in the to get sent down. But I don't know.
Right.
I'm on board with liking Luton. I just don't know. It feels a little weird if they go down because of point deductions. I don't like that.
I think we can collectively keep them up in the Prem with the power of friendship. So if everybody likes Luton enough, watches, supports their games, and actively roots for them, I think with all that good energy, we can keep them in the Premier League.
I like it. I like the positive vibes thought. Okay. Quickly, weekend preview. We're going to skip over power rankings. Weekend preview. The big one is, I think, well, there's two big ones in terms of, high profile firepower. Arsenal hosting Villa on Sunday and Newcastle hosting Spurs on Saturday. I do like something about the Newcastle Tottenham game. It's not necessarily Tottenham to win, though. I'll save that for my best bets. What are your thoughts on the, because every game at this point goes without saying. We got 7 games to go. Dropping points is, next to disaster essentially at this point. So what are your thoughts on Arsenal hosting Villa?
Little nervous. Like that we're at home. I like the support, the traveling support for us this weekend. Just to hear the Kai Havertz chants, it made my blood boil in a good way. I like us in that one. I'm not going to overthink this game. Villa have played us well for the past 2 years, but we're hitting stride at the correct moment. We're fully healthy, knock on wood, going into Tuesday against Bayern, which fitness or club fitness as a whole, there's a lot of different factors that play into it. It's luck, it's training, it's preparedness, but for us to go in at this point in the season with a fully healthy squad to both Champions League and a title race, I can't ask for much more than that. So I like us.
Now, so the interesting thing here with Tommy is that he picked out Villa as being like the team he was going to hang his hat on for Liverpool to drop points to later in the season. Was that, am I right on that?
Yeah, that's one of a few that I'm hanging my hat on. The other one being Spurs.
Hope. True. Listen, we can decide the title race, as I said. So are you nervous about, facing them this weekend?
I would be normally, but I think they're struggling with a couple injuries. Douglas Luiz is missing. Did they advance in?
Yep, they play on Thursday against Lille.
Yeah. So I think they have a shorter turnaround. The hangover is real for both of them from midweek, but I think Arsenal is deeper. I think Villa's going to have to basically run out the same team, if not damn near close to it, if they want to get a win in both. Whereas Arsenal can kind of rotate a bit more if they need to. So yeah, I would be normally, or in the first half of the year. It kind of feels like Villa's gone under the radar and kind of tailed off as the season's gone on. I mean, they were at first in December, so now they're kind of battling for 4th or 5th. So I think if this was in December, I'd be a lot more worried, or if it was Villa last year away. Kind of.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Yeah, the game against Brentford this weekend, I was kind of like, Spurs are better than this team. Like Spurs should get 4th. Yeah. This feels like a team that is going to be, this being Aston Villa, it felt like a team that's really going to be in that battle for 5th, which we do think is going to be a Champions League spot for the Premier League next season. But it felt like, giving away that many points to or goals to Brentford at home. I don't know. It just didn't feel like a top 4 team.
I don't know you could say Arsenal was a version of this last year, where when they're fully healthy and their team is focused on one competition, they can be very, very good. When you throw in a couple other competitions, throw in injuries or fatigue at the end of the year, they're less potent.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And they have been dealing with a lot of injuries, actually. All right. We will go to round the world time now. So we're going to skip over MLS Minute. We don't have the minute hit it and quit it minute man himself. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Quickly, though, the U.S. women's team. So this was, a game that people would, watch and sort of be like, oh, if we don't win, then that's terrible, whatever. The big talking point coming into this She Believes Cup game against Japan was Korbin Albert, which we talked about last week, and the kerfuffle involving her and her social media posts about Megan Rapinoe. So she didn't start. She was called into the camp. She didn't start in this game. The game got off to a terrible start for the women's team, for the U.S. women's team. We gave up a goal 31 seconds in. Not great. But, sort of the talk, there's a lot of chatter on the interwebs about sort of, what's going on with this team. Is this sort of a sign that things, or there's turmoil within? Well, they bounced right back. They scored 2 goals to take the win in this She Believes opener. Jaden Shaw got one in the 21st, and then Lindsey Horan scored a penalty later on in the second half, I think 77th minute. And then Korbin Albert actually came off the bench and was inserted into the game late. So I don't know. My thought was this game probably couldn't have gone better. I mean, first of all, they're playing a legitimate opponent. Like, Japan is a serious opponent. They got the win. They were put sort of in a position of, they tested themselves, not only against the opponent, but letting a goal in 31 seconds in. And Korbin Albert came off the bench. And so I feel like they ticked a lot of boxes as far as moving on, hopefully, from the whole situation. Yeah, so I guess it was just, for me, it was a good, it couldn't have sort of almost gone better. Mitch, anything to add there?
Was that 31 seconds goal quicker or slower than the Jamaican goal that we conceded at the beginning?
God, I think it was
I think
slower, wasn't it? Not
that
much.
no, it was.
The
You
same.
got to stop conceding in the first minute.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right though. I think it was good to move past it. I think Korbin Albert is a young player whose views on the world are yet to be shaped, and this is a learning experience for her, perhaps. I'm glad that she's able to get playing time and make resolves with teammates and coaches and whoever she needed to. And it's good that we got a win against, like you said, a very, very real opponent in Japan. I think Japanese soccer on the men's and women's side is on the up and up more than most countries around the world. Like, the standard in the Japanese league now is higher than it ever has been. Both the Japanese men's and women's international teams are climbing the FIFA rankings respectively. They are going to be a team to watch on both sides.
One question for you, Tommy, about this whole Korbin Albert situation, not specific to Korbin Albert, what she'd said and sort of that thing, but like, for you and a teammate, have you ever had a situation where there was, a teammate who either said something or maybe posted something on social media or anything like that, that basically sent the whole team into, turmoil like this?
No.
How do you think your team would react to this type of situation?
Uh, well, I think in the past, I think the one big one was like the Black Lives Matter movement, right after COVID, where I think the general response was to have conversations to kind of understand the different perspectives in the room. And if it became heated, trying to, disarm that situation. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Like, obviously, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but I'm wearing a Notre Dame hat. She played at Notre Dame, and I think a lot of her views and her likes and I genuinely don't know what she liked or whatever, so I might be talking out of my ass right now, are probably shaped by her like Christian beliefs.
Yep.
Would be my guess. And yeah, I think
So from my understanding, what she posted, just to add context to that, what she reposted a TikTok that was a sermon or a speech from a pastor. Essentially, there were other messages in it as well, but that pastor was saying things that being gay or lesbian or being trans is a sin. And she reposted that sermon. So it wasn't things that she said directly. There was nothing directed at a person, but that was a message that she kind of endorsed. So,
and then I could be wrong on this, but I think she also may have liked something that,
Oh,
sort of,
okay.
it was a post about Megan Rapinoe's quote about, I think the quote that Rapinoe made, well, something about God, wasn't paying attention or something when she got hurt in her last game. It was basically like,
Yeah.
anyway. So I think you're right. Isn't she also, she's from Utah, I believe. Korbin Albert is. It sounds like she
I
is
don't know. I don't know if she's from Indiana or Utah.
whatever it is,
Yeah,
it sounds like
no
she
clue.
definitely comes from a very, religious upbringing. And so, that there's different views there, and I'm sure being sort of exposed to a whole different crew of people and thoughts and beliefs and whatever's is eye-opening. I think that one thing the message I didn't get across last week that I kind of wanted to is that, we can have a lot of opinions on this, and we will, because we're soccer fans. But really what it comes down to is how she deals with it, how her teammates deal with it, and like in the locker room, the conversations they had, which you kind of intimate, sort of suggested right there, Tommy. It's about how they get past this. And if they can't, then that's something that we will probably actually hear about. But otherwise, they will get past it, and we should as well, I think, is sort of my thinking. But yeah, not to put you on the spot there, Tommy.
No, I totally agree that it's like they are the ones that have to come to a level of understanding together. And if they do that, then we should all do the same. But if they can't, I think there's more room for conversation as well.
Exactly. Okay. I'm just glad she got on the field, because I feel like that's sort of like it's not like you put the whole situation behind you, but at least it suggests that, there's some
You move on, you learn from it.
Exactly. All right. The other thing from around the world, we got to talk about Champions League. The next couple weeks, this is like the high point of the every season for the Champions League. And by the way, this is the last Champions League as we know it. Things are going to be different next season. So let's just, maybe it'll be better. I don't know, but I'm just saying, I'm just going to enjoy the hell out of it while I can. And so this week we got the quarterfinals. 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday. I wish they would stagger them, but they're played at the same time. Not the worst thing in the world. Arsenal hosting Bayern on Tuesday, Real Madrid hosting Man City on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we got PSG hosting Barcelona and Atletico Madrid hosting Dortmund. First of all, those games are awesome. But of the 4, I don't know if this is even sort of a silly question since we got nothing but Tweedles here. But what game, Tommy, which of the 4 do you think will be most exciting? And this is first legs, everybody keep in mind. So first legs, which first leg do you see as being most exciting?
I think the Arsenal one, because Bayern's going to go for it. They got nothing to lose. There's no Bayern fans in the stadium, so it's going to be a little different. Arsenal's going to be jacked up. They're going to go for it. Whereas City at Madrid might be a bit more of a stalemate. And I think I would say that this first leg would be Arsenal Bayern. The second leg, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's probably going to be City Madrid. Is going to be much more entertaining.
Yeah, that's fair. Mitch, any thoughts there?
Yeah, co-sign that. Bayern have already admitted that they are not winning the league this year, that it's Leverkusen's title. So this is their main focus right now. So Tommy's right. They are going to go for it, I think. I like us to defend our home court, but who knows? I actually think this City Madrid game will be a little more open. I don't think it's going to be a chess match. I think I saw something that said that they're looking to close the roof of the Bernabeu to make it as loud as possible, which I love. I love that tactic. And I think Real Madrid have been outstanding at home this season. Granted, they're playing City, but I like Madrid to win that one by at least 1.
All right. PSG Barcelona, by the way, feels like
all of these matchups feel like they were hand selected, right?
I mean, Arsenal Bayern, just in my mind, I have warm and fuzzy thoughts about that matchup, because historically speaking, they've dusted the floor with you guys. Yeah. But it's gonna be. I do think it's probably gonna be a different situation this year. But Atletico Madrid and Dortmund seems like a interesting matchup, and especially since Atletico doesn't have that same sort of vibe that they've always had so many years, where they just sort of grind out 1-0 wins. That's not this Atletico team. So
Nope.
I'm excited
Can
about
we
all
can
four.
we shoe them in for the final?
Atletico.
Yeah, I think they're the biggest lock out of this group to make it to the final. But I bet the odds don't reflect that because of their path.
Right.
Arsenal, Bayern, City, and Madrid have to all play each other next leg, whereas they've got Dortmund, which is, I think people would say, the weakest of the two, and then you're playing
Remaining
PSG or Barca, and they'd be one of the few teams that I would put money on to lock down Mbappe.
Okay.
Just because it's like a collective effort of
Yeah.
we're going to defend with 11 dudes.
If you're listening, take this Nostradamus wisdom and run with it.
He's not known as Nostradamus or Tomstradamus for no reason. So
I'll be wrong on this one. It's not CONCACAF. It's UEFA. It's not CONCACAF.
True. I'm just really excited about this week. The next 2 weeks, actually.
Yeah.
Back to back. These 2 weeks. This is when like Champions League is at its best. All right, we'll go to stoppage time. Put a bow on this episode. So, Ivan Toney's best bets. Overtrain. Not cooking with thermonuclear gas, but we did come out with a small victory. We were 3-2 last week. Not great. Nothing to write home about, but we didn't lose money. But I'm ready to get back on that horse. I got a good 5 here. I'm especially excited about the last one, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But Wednesday, we're going to go, and again, Wednesday through Sunday, one game over each day. Wednesday, we're going to start with Monterrey and Miami, Inter Miami in the Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup. This is the second leg of the quarterfinal. Monterrey goes home up 2-1. That game could have had a lot more goals in the first leg. A red card kind of changed things at the end. I think Miami has, first of all, Messi might be back. And so I think I like Miami to score multiple goals. And this is against a very good Monterrey team. They'll probably score multiple goals as well. So I like the over on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to England, the National League, AFC Filed. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. FYLDE, AFC Filed, hosting Gateshead. Both of these teams score a ton and get scored on. And I think when they play each other in the season, there was 18 goals. So Thursday, AFC Filed and Gateshead. Friday, we're going Adelaide United and MacArthur. Favorite league in the world, A-League. Got to go with those two. And Adelaide, by the way, has been just cooking on the overtrains this season. So shout out Adelaide United. Saturday, I teased this earlier, Newcastle Tottenham. This game just has goals written all over it. I know the last 2 games, Newcastle has been just a godsend for people who bet overs this season. The last 2 games have actually not gone over. It was Everton 1-1 and Fulham 1-0. But if you watch those games, there were so many chances that they missed. And, the other teams missed some as well. But Newcastle especially, they just have left goals on the table. And Tottenham, listen, they score every single game. They get scored on basically every single game. So Newcastle's Tottenham on Saturday, lock it in. And then my favorite one is on Sunday, the Czech League. So Victoria Pilsen is hosting Slavia Prague. And I absolutely love this because Slavia they're in a dogfight right now at the top of the table in the Czech League. There's 3 games left to go. I think they're maybe 1 point above the other Sparta Prague. So they're 1 point, I believe, ahead Sparta Prague. They've got 3 games to go. They're going to Victoria Pilsen this weekend. First of all, when they play each other, both teams always score. They always score at least 2 or 3 goals. And Victoria Pilsen really has nothing to play for. So they're going to be playing in front of their home crowd. So they're going to go for it, but they're not going to be, worried about anything. So the fact is, I love both these teams to score. Although I'm not going to bet that, I'm going to go just straight over Slavia Prague visiting Victoria Pilsen on Sunday. So there you go. 5-side overtrain. Let's go get rich. Okay. Mitch, looks like you're ready to go with your Ivan Toney best bet, but you're on mute.
All the time. Actually, I don't do that all the time. Just kidding. My Sandro Tonali's best bet, like I mentioned, I think this Madrid City game is going to be a little more open. So I like both teams to score in that one. City can score away, as we've seen, but I just think with it being home, Real Madrid are going to score as well. I like an over in that as well. But so both teams to score. PSG to score twice against Barcelona. These are all Champions League bets, by the way. PSG to score twice at home against Barcelona, and then Atletico Madrid money line against Borussia Dortmund, also at home. You put them all together, you're at plus 430. Take them all individually if you'd like as well. They're all, in the minus 160 to 120 range, but I think all of those, for the reasons that we mentioned in the segment earlier, are mortal locks.
I like it. I like it. Champions League. The only thing that worries me is like those first legs. Sometimes are like a little extra, sort of conservative.
I think the books know that as well, and I'm gonna take the reverse psychology approach and say, hey, look, these are two good teams. I like them to score goals.
I like it. All right, Tommy, what's your Shohei Ohtani's best bet of the week?
I have Arsenal Bayern. I have Serge Gnabry to score.
And to celebrate?
That's what I don't know. I think he's a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more respectful than that. And then I'm curious about the West Ham Leverkusen game, so I'm going to go over with that just because I hope it's a fun watch. But
I like it.
So I do have by my first bet, I do have Arsenal and Bayern both to score because obviously I still have Arsenal getting a result. So
yeah,
okay. Implicit in your bet was that okay?
Yes,
I like it. And yes, Thursdays there's tons of games like Europa and Europa Conference League. I love Thursday betting. All right, we will finish up with, of course, everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. And I got a few written down here, so I don't want to take anybody's thunder. So, Mitch, you want to go first?
Yeah, I got two of them, kind of three. First one are the Williams brothers, Iñaki and Nico Williams. They won the Copa del Rey with their boyhood club this weekend or earlier in the week. And just seeing them celebrate together and to win a trophy for a club that you grew up supporting alongside your brother, that's the scenes from that were unbelievable. I think it's funny that they actually represent different nations, or they've chosen different nationalities as well, so they can play each other in international play hypothetically. But to play alongside your brother and win hardware at the highest level is just so fucking cool. So shout out to them. And then my other Goa ×2 is Rihanna and Kim Kardashian for opposite reasons. One, Rihanna, because she has been a steadfast Arsenal supporter since dark days. There are pictures of her with like Mustafi and Kolasinac after a match. And that's, I mean, we were kind of in the trenches during those times. But she stuck by us. She supported our club. She went to games and she bled red. Now that we're successful, now that we have momentum, now that we are the biggest club in London, Kim Kardashian brings her kids around all the time and is planning to be there for this upcoming game this weekend. And I just don't, it lacks authenticity. It reeks of bandwagonism, and I would expect nothing different, but it still leaves me with a kind of a rotten feeling inside that like, yeah, well, Rihanna's one of our fans, but also Kim K is as of 6 months ago. It's just I don't know. It's a bad. We all have, each club has supporters that we're not super proud of. Like Ben Shapiro's a Celtics fan, and I fucking hate that. But this one just feels a little icky,
A little extra icky.
Yeah.
I sign off on both of those. I think that's good that you combine them as well.
Because they're for the same but different reasons.
Right, exactly. I like that. Okay, Tommy, what do you got for us?
I have the big one I have is Open Cup with El Farolito.
Yeah.
Advancing.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't know, is kind of like a amateur, like I want to say amateur men's team. Maybe I think people would maybe classically call it like a Sunday league team that is owned and I think sponsored by, but definitely owned by El Farolito, which is a very famous burrito shop in San Francisco. I have had their burritos before. They're pretty damn good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching them play this week in the Open Cup.
Who do they play against? Do you remember?
They play Oakland Roots.
Oh, okay. It'll be a tough game. I mean, pretty much everything's going to be a tough game at this point. Okay, good shout. I've not had a El Farolito burrito. I gotta get on that next time I'm out in San Francisco. All right. I got a couple honorable mentions. First of all, to Philadelphia Union U17s who went back to back in Generation Adidas. That whole Generation Adidas tournament this time round, it was kind of marred by, a whole bunch of different suggestions of maybe, some racist remarks here and there, which sucks. But whatever. It's tough to know who said what and all that. It's just unfortunate that cloud was hanging over the tournament this year. Hopefully we'll sort itself out and get rid of that type of stuff. But shout out to the Philly Union 17s, because back to back in Generation Adidas, well done. The other honorable mention, Javier Tebas, president of La Liga, who, I want to get you the actual quote, because the actual quote, it makes it all funnier. If you search for "I want to buy cocaine" or "kids sex" on Google, you don't get results. But if you search for "free football," you do, which is the most ham-handed way of trying to get his point across, which is that, the illegal streams are a problem, and, they're sort of taking money out of his pocket, essentially, and also the clubs and everything. But to equate illegal streaming with kiddie porn is just like, listen, you could have gone about it in a better way, Mr. Tebas. So hopefully that's a lesson learned on that one. My actual GOA for the week goes to Jude the Cat, who is QPR's mascot, who was fired this week after it turns out he repeatedly hit on fans, like female fans, after multiple warnings. And basically he got fired for being too horny. So Jude the Cat, I respect the game and your commitment to it, but it's a family friendly environment. So I think maybe you just got to go shoot your shot on Bumble or Hinge somewhere else. But I do respect the game and the commitment to the game. So shout out Jude the Cat on that one. And that's all we got this week, boys and girls. Mitchell, Tommy, thank you guys for spending your time with us. I know you guys got better things to do. Everybody, if you're listening, really do follow these guys and send them your appreciations. Thank them if you see them or talk to them on the internet. They're great people. I really appreciate you guys, and everybody who's listening, I appreciate you guys as well. We will be back bigger, better, faster, stronger next week. See you guys then.